No, I mean, I'm sure David Cameron's children would get bullied whatever school they went to. It's quite difficult, that thing of bullying. But Mick was always in charge of which schools, and he's done a great job.
She was the Texas beauty who conquered the fashion capitals of the world, a statuesque blonde whose face graced the covers of Vogue and Cosmopolitan. But behind the dazzling public image lay a private life marked by tumultuous relationships, betrayal, and heartbreak. Her 22-year partnership with Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger was one of the most scandalous and captivating love stories of the rock era, a saga of passion, infidelity, and a secret wedding that ultimately proved to be legally void. Now we finally know the ugly details of her affair with Mick Jagger and the painful truth that has remained hidden for decades. The rise of Jerry Hall. Jerry Faye Hall was born on July 2, 1956, in Gonzales, Texas, a small town that seemed a world away from the fashion capitals she would one day conquer. She grew up as one of 5 daughters born to John P. Hall, a long-haul truck driver, and Marjorie Nell, a medical records librarian. Her siblings included her identical twin sister, Terry Hall, with whom she shared an unbreakable bond that would sustain her through the darkest moments of her life. The family later relocated to the working-class suburb of Mesquite, where Jerry spent her formative years navigating the challenges of a household marked by financial strain and volatility. Money was always tight, and the family struggled to make ends meet. But Jerry's mother worked tirelessly to provide for her daughters, instilling in them a fierce determination to succeed. The household was crowded, the resources were limited, and the pressure was immense. But Jerry learned early that she would have to fight for everything she wanted. As documented in her autobiography, Tall Tales, Jerry's childhood was anything but peaceful. Her father suffered from severe anger issues and post-traumatic stress after serving in World War II, which frequently manifested as physical aggression toward his daughters. The household was a battleground, and Jerry learned from an early age to walk on eggshells, to anticipate the next outburst, and to protect herself from the unpredictable rage of a man who had been broken by war. The trauma of her childhood would leave lasting scars, shaping her understanding of love, trust, and her own self-worth for decades to come. She later reflected that growing up in that environment taught her to be resilient, but it also conditioned her to accept treatment that she should never have tolerated. The constant fear created a hypervigilance that would follow her into adulthood, making it difficult for her to trust or to feel safe. Despite her chaotic home environment, Jerry possessed a verified IQ of 146, a gift that set her apart from her peers and offered her a path to escape. She utilized her academic capabilities to graduate early from North Mesquite High School at just 16 years old, simultaneously completing college-level courses at Eastfield College. She was determined to build a future for herself, to break free from the cycle of poverty that had defined her childhood. Her intelligence was a weapon, a tool she would use to carve out a life that was entirely her own. She devoured books, excelled in her studies, and dreamed of a world far beyond the confines of her small Texas town. The classroom was her refuge, a place where she could escape the chaos of her home life and imagine a different future. The opportunity to escape came in the form of an insurance settlement following a car crash injury in Texas. Hall received a check for $800, a modest sum that would prove to be life-changing. She used this exact lump sum to purchase a one-way ticket to Paris, France in 1973. She was 17 years old, and she was determined to never look back. The decision was bold, a leap of faith that would either destroy her or save her. She boarded the plane with little more than a suitcase and a dream, leaving behind the trauma of her childhood and the limitations of her small-town existence. The flight to Paris was the beginning of a new chapter, a chance to reinvent herself far from the pain of her past. She arrived in the city of light with no connections, no money, and no plan, but she was determined to succeed. Shortly after her arrival in Europe, Jerry was sunbathing on a beach in Saint-Tropez when she was scouted by fashion agent Claude Haddad. The chance encounter was a turning point, a moment when her life shifted from anonymity to opportunity. Haddad recognized something special in the tall, striking blonde, and he immediately set about launching her modeling career. The single interaction moved her from poverty into the elite modeling scene of Paris, opening doors that she had never imagined possible. Within weeks, she was walking runways and posing for photographers, her face appearing in magazines that she had once only dreamed of. The transition from small-town Texas to the fashion capitals of Europe was dizzying, but Geri embraced it with enthusiasm and determination. Upon moving into a Parisian apartment, Geri became roommates with then-aspiring singer and model Grace Jones, as well as actress Jessica Lange. The trio frequented the bohemian Parisian nightlife, building early connections with the global fashion elite. The apartment was a hub of creativity and ambition, a place where three young women from different backgrounds came together to chase their dreams. Grace Jones was bold and unconventional, Jessica Lange was quietly determined, and Geri Hall was the striking Texan with the golden hair and the fierce intelligence. Together they navigated the treacherous waters of the fashion industry, supporting each other through rejection and celebrating each other's successes. Geri became a muse for legendary photographer Helmut Newton, whose highly stylized, powerful imagery showcased her 6-foot stature and long blonde hair. Newton's photographs set a new aesthetic standard for the mid-1970s, capturing Geri's beauty in ways that were both provocative and elegant. She was the perfect canvas for his vision, a figure who could embody both strength and vulnerability. The collaboration with Newton elevated her career to new heights, establishing her as one of the most sought-after models of the era. His images of her remain iconic to this day, a testament to the power of their creative partnership. Newton saw something in Geri that others missed, a raw, unpolished beauty that could be transformed into high art. In 1977, Hall was selected by Yves Saint Laurent as the premier face for his revolutionary and controversial perfume, Opium. The campaign was a sensation, cementing Geri's status as a global icon. By 1977, less than 4 years after leaving Texas, Hall had secured over 40 major international magazine covers, including Italian Vogue and Cosmopolitan. Her daily modeling rate surged past $1,000, making her one of the highest-earning models of the era. The Bryan Ferry era. The summer of 1975 marked a turning point in Geri Hall's personal life. Bryan Ferry, the sophisticated frontman of the pioneering art rock band Roxy Music, was looking for a striking figure to feature on the cover of their 5th studio album, Siren. He specifically requested Hall after seeing her portfolio, drawn to her statuesque beauty and her ability to embody the glamorous, otherworldly aesthetic that defined his music. The album cover would become one of the most iconic images of the 1970s, a collaboration that would also spark a passionate 2-year romance. Ferry was at the height of his creative powers, and he recognized in Geri Hall the perfect muse for his artistic vision. The image of her draped in a flowing gown, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, became synonymous with the sophisticated, decadent style of the era. Ferry was known for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to curate a specific aesthetic, and he saw in Geri the embodiment of everything he wanted his music to represent. The couple met on location during the album shoot on a rocky shore in Anglesey, Wales. Hall was painted completely blue from head to toe and fitted into a tight rubber mermaid suit that rendered her unable to walk. The suit was restrictive, the paint was cold, and the conditions were freezing, but Geri was a professional, and she was determined to deliver the image that Ferry had envisioned. The blue paint was a symbolic choice, representing the ethereal, otherworldly quality that Ferry wanted to capture. Ferry acted as the supervisor on the set, directing the shoot with an artist's eye and a perfectionist's attention to detail. He was demanding, but Geri appreciated his commitment to the craft. As a courtesy due to the freezing conditions and difficult makeup, Ferry invited Hall back to his London apartment so she could wash off the blue body paint. The encounter was meant to be practical, but it sparked an immediate connection that neither of them had anticipated. They talked for hours, discovering a shared love of art, music, and culture. The chemistry between them was undeniable, and what started as a professional collaboration quickly evolved into something far more personal. At the time of their meeting, Ferry was 30 years old and an established pioneer of British glam rock. He was sophisticated, cultured, and at the peak of his creative powers. His music was a fusion of glamour, romance, and intellectualism, and he moved through the world with an air of effortless cool. Hall, on the other hand, was a 19-year-old rising star navigating her newfound international supermodel status. The age difference and the power imbalance were significant, but Jerry was drawn to Ferry's intelligence and his artistic vision. He was unlike anyone she had ever met, and she found herself captivated by his charm and his worldliness. The relationship progressed rapidly in the public eye. Just 5 months after their initial meeting on the set of Siren, Ferry proposed to Hall with an engagement ring, which she accepted. The engagement was a declaration of intent, a sign that the couple was serious about building a life together. The press celebrated their union, dubbing them the new golden couple of rock and fashion. They were photographed at the most glamorous events, their faces plastered across the pages of every magazine. The world was captivated by their romance. In 1976, Hall starred in the music video for Ferry's solo hit, Let's Stick Together. Dressed in a leopard print dress and mimicking a tiger's growl, her performance solidified the couple's status as rock royalty. The video was a sensation, a perfect fusion of music, fashion, and performance art. Their public appearances were carefully orchestrated, their style meticulously curated, and their image a reflection of the era's obsession with celebrity and excess. They attended the most exclusive parties, mingled with the most famous people, and lived a life that seemed like a dream. Despite the polished public image, the relationship suffered from intense control dynamic. Ferry was highly possessive and struggled with Hall's growing fame, wealth, and independence. He wanted to control her career, to limit her exposure, to keep her as his private muse. Jerry, however, was determined to forge her own path, to build a career that was independent of his influence. The clash of wills was inevitable, and it would ultimately lead to the end of their relationship. The arguments behind closed doors were frequent and fierce, a reflection of the tensions that simmered beneath the surface of their carefully constructed facade. Ferry would accuse Jerry of prioritizing her career over their relationship, while Jerry felt suffocated by his possessiveness. Following Hall's departure, a devastated Ferry channeled his heartbreak directly into his music. His 1978 solo album, The Bride Stripped Bare, is musically documented as a direct exploration of his feelings regarding Hall's abrupt exit, featuring bitter tracks that laid bare his emotional turmoil. The album was a testament to the depth of his feelings, a raw and unflinching examination of love and loss. The Mick Jagger Affair. The summer of 1976 would prove to be a turning point in Jerry Hall's life, a moment when everything she thought she knew about love and loyalty was thrown into chaos. Mick Jagger invited Ferry and his fiancée, Jerry Hall, to a dinner party in London. Jagger was married to his first wife, Bianca Jagger, at the time, while Hall was actively engaged to Ferry. The dinner was meant to be a social gathering, a casual evening among friends and acquaintances. But it would become the catalyst for one of the most scandalous affairs of the rock era, a secret liaison that would destroy two relationships and create a new complicated dynamic that would span decades. During this specific dinner, Jagger deliberately sat next to Hall. The seating arrangement was not accidental. Jagger had orchestrated it with the precision of a man who knew exactly what he wanted. Hall later recalled in her memoirs that Jagger pressed his knee next to hers and she could feel an undeniable electricity between them. The spark was immediate and intense, a magnetic pull that neither of them could ignore. She described the sensation as a jolt of energy that ran through her entire body, a feeling that she had never experienced before. The interaction took place right in front of an unsuspecting Ferry, who had no idea that his fiancé and his friend were about to embark on a secret affair that would destroy their relationship. The dinner was a turning point, a moment when Jerry's life veered off in a direction she could never have anticipated. She was engaged to one man, but she was falling for another, and the conflict between her head and her heart would tear her apart. Throughout late 1976 and 1977, Hall and Jagger engaged in a secret affair that would change the course of their lives. To avoid the paparazzi, they met at obscure locations, including underground jazz clubs in Harlem, Coney Island hot dog stands, and low-profile bars in Tokyo. The clandestine nature of their meetings added an element of danger and excitement to the affair, but it also forced them to confront the reality of what they were doing. Jagger would physically cover his prominent mouth with his hands in public to avoid recognition, a comical but necessary precaution for a man who was one of the most recognizable faces in the world. The affair was a constant game of cat and mouse, a dance with the paparazzi that required careful planning and absolute discretion. Hall later reflected that the secrecy of their relationship added to its intensity, making every stolen moment feel precious and dangerous. In 1977, Hall officially broke off her engagement to Ferry and left him to commit to Jagger, who subsequently separated from Bianca Jagger, leading to their 1979 divorce. The decision was a difficult one, but Hall was convinced that she had found true love with Jagger. She had no idea that the affair would lead to decades of heartbreak and betrayal. She believed in his charm, his intelligence, and his capacity for love. She was willing to sacrifice her engagement, her reputation, and her stability for a chance at happiness with him. The public was fascinated by the scandal, and the press had a field day with the story of the rock star and the supermodel. Early in their relationship, Hall delivered a strict ultimatum, forcing Jagger to quit his heavy illicit substance use. She had watched too many people in the music industry destroy themselves with substances, and she was determined not to let that happen to the man she loved. Jagger successfully used his willpower to stop using illicit substances, a testament to his discipline and his desire to make the relationship work. But Hall soon discovered that he had replaced his chemical dependency with another severe, compulsive addiction. The pattern of betrayal was set, and it would continue for the duration of their relationship. Jagger was incapable of monogamy, and his infidelities became a constant source of pain and humiliation for Hall. She would later describe the experience as a never-ending cycle of hope and disappointment, a battle to hold on to a man who was constitutionally incapable of being faithful. The couple began building a family, welcoming their first daughter, Elizabeth Scarlett, in 1984, followed by their first son, James Leroy, in 1985. Hall hoped that fatherhood would change Jagger, that the responsibility of raising children would ground him and make him more committed to their relationship. But these domestic milestones were consistently overshadowed by Jagger's ongoing extramarital affairs. Hall found herself in the impossible position of trying to maintain a stable home for her children while constantly dealing with the fallout from her partner's betrayals. She later admitted that she stayed in the relationship for far too long, driven by a combination of love, insecurity, and a desperate hope that he would eventually change. The most public fracture occurred in 1992, shortly after Hall gave birth to their third child, Georgia May. Within 24 hours of the birth, Jagger left France to fly to Thailand for a secret holiday with model Carla Bruni. The betrayal was devastating, a moment when Hall realized that Jagger's promises of fidelity were empty. Upon discovering the Bruni affair through intercepted messages, Hall officially announced a separation from Jagger in 1992. However, Jagger used his charm and promises of fidelity to convince Hall to return just weeks later. The reconciliation was short-lived, and the cycle of betrayal continued. By 1995, tired of the denials, Hall hired a private detective to track Jagger's movements through London's nightclub scene. The detective gathered definitive proof of Jagger's ongoing infidelity, providing Hall with clear leverage. The momentum toward a legal separation halted in late 1996 when Hall became pregnant with their fourth child, Gabriel Luke, leading her to give the relationship one final chance for the sake of the household. The pregnancy was a last-ditch effort to save the relationship, but it was ultimately in vain. The Balinese wedding and the void legal ruling. On November 21, 1990, after over a decade together, Hall and Jagger held a wedding ceremony in Bali, Indonesia. The event was an intricate 6-hour Hindu ritual involving sacrifices and traditional Balinese custom garments. The ceremony was meant to be a sacred union, a declaration of their commitment to each other in front of family and friends. Hall had dreamed of this day for years, believing that finally becoming Jagger's wife would solidify their bond and put an end to the insecurities that had plagued their relationship. She wore traditional Balinese attire, and the couple exchanged vows in a setting that felt both ancient and deeply personal. The ceremony was a spectacle, a fusion of Eastern spirituality and Western celebrity that captured the imagination of the media. But the legal status of the marriage would later prove to be a devastating point of contention. Hall believed that the ceremony was legally binding, that she was finally Jagger's wife in the eyes of the law as well as in the eyes of their community. She had no idea that the legal technicalities would later be used against her, stripping her of the rights she believed she had earned, as Jagger's infidelities continued to surface. Hall learned to compartmentalize, to focus on her children and her work while enduring the emotional turmoil of her relationship. But the facade of stability was fragile, and it would eventually crumble in the most devastating way possible. The relationship reached a definitive end in 1998 when Brazilian model Luciana Gimenez came forward with proof that she was pregnant with Jagger's child. The revelation was a bombshell, a betrayal that Hall could no longer forgive. DNA testing later confirmed that Jagger was the father of Lucas Maurice Morad Jagger, born in May 1999. The news was a public humiliation, a confirmation that Jagger had been unfaithful, not just in private, but in a way that could not be hidden or denied. Hall had endured years of infidelity, but the birth of a child with another woman was a line that could not be crossed. It was a betrayal that struck at the heart of her identity as a mother and a partner. Hall filed for a formal divorce in London in early 1999, seeking a standard division of assets after 22 years of partnership. She believed that she was entitled to a fair share of the wealth she had helped to build, a recognition of the years she had devoted to supporting Jagger and raising their children. In response, Jagger's legal team launched a defense that would shock Hall to her core. They argued that the couple had never been legally married in the first place. The claim was devastating, a denial of the commitment that Hall had believed in for so long. On July 9, 1999, the UK High Court issued an official ruling. The court determined that the 1990 Balinese marriage ceremony was legally void because it had never been registered with the Indonesian authorities, and the proper civil marriage licenses were never filed. The ruling was a brutal blow, a legal acknowledgement that Hall's years of devotion had no legal standing. Instead of a standard divorce settlement, Hall was forced to accept a multi-million-dollar out-of-court settlement and a declaration that she was legally an unmarried partner, meaning she had no statutory claim to Jagger's massive Rolling Stones fortune. The financial settlement was significant, but it was a fraction of what she would have received if their marriage had been legally recognized. The ruling was a devastating blow, a final humiliation that stripped her of the recognition she deserved. In a deep-dive interview with the Radio Times in 2003, Hall reflected on her long tolerance of his behavior, stating that she had the patience of a saint, but that Jagger was an incurable womanizer. She spoke openly about the emotional toll of the relationship, the constant cycle of hope and disappointment that had defined her life for so long. Hall openly admitted that her tolerance stemmed from her childhood, stating she was raised not to know what it's like to be treated well. The admission was a moment of profound self-awareness, a recognition that the patterns of her childhood had shaped the choices she made as an adult. Life after Jagger and the blended family reality. Following the 1999 separation, Hall refused to be defined by her failed relationship with Jagger. She shifted her focus to theater, a medium that allowed her to explore new dimensions of her talent and to step out of the shadow of her former partner. She made her West End stage debut playing Cherie in a revival of Bus Stop, a role that required her to tap into emotional depths she had not previously explored. The experience was transformative, a reminder that she was more than just a muse or a partner. She was a performer in her own right. In 2000, she broke box office records at the West End by playing Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate, famously performing a controversial scene on stage at age 44. The performance was a statement of confidence, a declaration that she was not afraid to take risks or to challenge expectations. The role required vulnerability and strength, qualities that Hall had developed in abundance over the years. Critics praised her performance, and audiences flocked to see her, proving that her appeal extended far beyond her modeling career. In 2005, Hall starred in her own VH1 reality television series titled Kept, which focused on her independent life in London and her refusal to be defined solely as an ex-rock star muse. The show offered a glimpse into her world, showcasing her wit, her intelligence, and her determination to live life on her own terms. In 2016, Hall surprised the media by marrying billionaire media magnate Rupert Murdoch at St. Bride's Church in London. The marriage was a departure from her earlier relationships, a union with a man who was powerful, wealthy, and established in his own right. The wedding was a lavish affair, attended by some of the most influential figures in the world. Hall seemed to have found a new chapter of stability and security, a partnership that promised to be free from the chaos of her previous relationships. But the marriage lasted only 6 years. Murdoch abruptly ended the relationship via an email in June 2022, resulting in a finalized divorce later that year. The end of the marriage was a shock, but Hall handled it with characteristic grace and dignity. Speaking with British Vogue at age 70, Hall shared her perspective on her past relationships, expressing satisfaction with her independence and her choice to step away from chaotic dynamics. She spoke about the importance of self-worth and the value of building a life that is not defined by a partner. Hall detailed how she hosts a weekly Sunday lunch at her home. The guest list regularly includes Mick Jagger, his long-term fiancée, Melanie Hamrick, and their young son, Devereaux. Hall described this modern setup as odd but fully operational. She noted that Jagger has evolved into a great diplomat in his later years, keeping the peace across his complex family tree. The Sunday lunches are a testament to the progress they have made, a sign that they have moved beyond the bitterness of their past. Hall concluded her reflections by stating she has no active resentment toward Jagger. She emphasizes that while she didn't want to spend her old age with him, she values him as a co-parent and grandfather to her children's offspring. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.